Oh my goodness, this is stressing me out, man. So now I got the deal under contract. I got to find a way to start marketing these properties. I don't know, guys. I'm always nervous at this point. It's like every step is nerve-wracking. You're trying to find your next deal. So you're going through writing these letters. You're not knowing what's going to happen. People are calling. You're nervous when they call. And then now you get a property under contract and you feel like, you know, you're kind of successful at that point, but now you got to go sell it. I'm on the clock. I got to find some buyers for this deal. I think I got some people that'll be interested in it. I know I left a lot of buyers on the table with this last deal. A lot of people wanted that deal, but it sold quickly. So hopefully it's a lot of hungry buyers still looking for some lots, because I got 6 of them and I need to get them out of there. I gotta let them go now, today, man. I need my money. I need my money. I need my money, man. I need my money. This is crazy. My wife just called me. Gotta go to the store. I should be sitting back, you know, just counting my money and getting ready to make another $20,000. Once that's done, put that money in the bank, and I should have my 3rd deal coming, and I should be, maybe I'll make $30,000 off that one. Who knows? But I'll get at least 10, and you know, it should be smooth sailing from here, man. My shirts came in. Got my little t-shirts with I buy houses. You probably can see it there. That's a little hat to match. I got these shirts in. Why did they send the small size? I think it's kind of sexy and all, but I just wish for once that things would go as planned, you know? I just wish things would go as planned. But I think you also got to start with gratitude. So let me start with that. Becoming a real estate investor was something that I didn't ever see coming. I did, like most people, think that one day when I got rich, I would invest in real estate. I never thought that it would happen while I was broke. That's the beauty about this business. It doesn't require that you have money to start it. So that's what I'm grateful for. I was able to start investing in real estate with no money. Now, the only problem is, you know, having no money is supposed to be a temporary state. All of the gurus teach that, you know, in 30 to 90 days, you should be able to get your first sale. One thing can lead to another in this business and really cause things not to work as planned. If this video had a title, it would be "To Hell with the Plan," or "There Goes My Plan," or "Why Even Worry About Planning?" Or "Should You Plan?" I don't know. Your first goal when you start doing real estate, or you start real estate investing, or you start as a real estate investor with no money, your first goal is to get your first deal. All right, that's like the first milestone. In theory, when you get your first deal, that's when you get your first paycheck. And from there, you can invest back into your business, you can pay off some bills, you can save a little money, you know, and start moving forward with your life. So I'm sitting around here trying to figure out how to make, you know, pocket change work when I got $10,000 coming my way, and all I need is somebody to sign a piece of paper, and I can go pick up my $10,000. So would you rather be trying to figure this out, or go pick up a $10,000 check? Got my first deal under contract, got it to closing, found a buyer, and now the next most difficult part is to find your second deal. And I've heard horror stories of people, you know, after they find their first deal, it takes them 10 months to get the second deal. I've heard people say it takes 2 years, it's taking them 2 years to get the second deal. Well, I just got my second deal under contract, let's see, a day and a half ago. That's another thing I'm grateful for. So you got to count your blessings, and I'm making sure that I do that. Thank you, Lord, for sending me this guy who had 6 lots. He was willing to sell me at a discount. We built a lot of rapport. We became really good friends in a short amount of time. We laughed, we shared our struggles in the business. And by the way, this guy has been in real estate for 50 years. He's a OG. He's been in the business. He's done it all, which actually that almost came back to bite me in the end. And I'm going to tell you why when I tell you this story. We laughed, we had fun. We walked out to his properties. He showed me around the land. All I'm thinking is dollar signs, dollar signs, dollar signs. And 6 lots, what I can do with 6 lots if I get it at the right price. So he kept trying to get me to give him an idea what I was going to be able to pay. But I already know whoever names price first loses. I was hoping to get these properties for under $15,000 and pay no more than $15,000. He's been in the business 50 years, y'all. He knew better. So eventually I left the property, went home to do my numbers. So I offered $12,000. Really wanted to offer $10,000, but I didn't want to insult the man. I ended up offering $12,000, you know, and some odd dollars, and I never offer whole numbers. And when you offer a whole number, it makes it look like you hadn't put a lot of thought into your offer, and you're just throwing out something. So I made sure I offered some odd amount like $12,103.34. I said, well, you're about $9,000 too low. So he wants around $20,000 for these. So that's what I said, so you want around $20,000 for these? He's like, yeah. And so I said, well, I got to go back to the drawing board because the comps in this area are just not that high, and I can't justify paying that for the properties. But in the back of my mind, y'all, I know these properties in this area will sell for about $20,000 or better. And he knows that too, so that's why he's trying to get that. But what he doesn't know is that I'm a wholesaler, right? And I'm trying to get the price down so that I can resell. Make a mental note of that, because that's gonna come back up in this story. He gave me the spiel about, you know, I'm gonna need 20 for the property. And I said, well, I can't pay 20. And he said, well, can you do 19? I said, well, I'm at 16.8 and some change. That's almost 17. Why don't we meet in the middle at 18? You know? And he was like, well, let me call you back. So he went and talked to his wife. She came back at 18.5. So I said, well, let me talk it over with my wife, and I'll call you back. So I run it by my wife. She's not really into real estate like that, but she's, you know, she understands what I'm dealing with, and she knows I'm waiting on this $10,000 and that I need to get this deal so that I can get some more money going. And so she's like, well, if you give them 18.5, won't you make at least, you know, $1,500 off each property, and it's 6 of them? You need the money, baby, whatever. So I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't need to give away all my profit. And she was like, okay, well, tell him you can do 18.1. Good idea. So I called him back and I said, my sweetie told me I can do $18,100, but I can't go to 18.5. I need that little cushion. Well, if you can do 18.1, what about 18,250? I said, I knew you were going to say that, so I'm prepared to go up to 18,150. he said, well, you can do 18,150, then you should be able to do at least 18,200. And I said, well, we're splitting hairs now, and you're trying to take my little gas money, and I'm gonna need something to put in my tank, right? So I'm joking with him. We got a cool little vibe going. So he says, well, 18,200 sounds good to me. I said, well, I'll tell you what, let me call you right back. Let me get my calculator out and see if I can do it. I had to go to the calculator to see how much I was gonna need to make 20,000. And I did my numbers, and for me to get 20,000, I would need to be at $18,166.60. So I called him back and I said, hey man, I can do $18,166.60, but I can't go a penny higher. And he was like, deal, send it to me. So I go to work, come back later that night. I'm up all night trying to get this paperwork ready. And I put the paperwork together, and I'm gonna be honest with you, there were some things I didn't like in the paperwork, but I said all of the things that I didn't like were actually in my favor. So I went ahead and sent him the paperwork the next morning with those things in it. He calls me back the next morning and say, hey, I don't like this contract, I'm not signing it. He says, you need to take out the part about signing the contract, and you need to take out the 60 days. It shouldn't take you 60 days to close this deal. For signing the contract is actually how I'm able to sell the property without actually buying it. So signing the contract is everything. I need to be able to sign this contract. I say, well, I don't have to do 60 days. Actually, my goal is to close this thing up in 2 weeks. But the title companies are running real slow right now, and so I can't guarantee how fast they're moving. I got a deal right now on the table, which y'all know I do, that's taking almost 90 days to close. So I don't want to be going back and forth trying to get paperwork signed, but if it makes you happy, I'll change the 60 days. And so I'm still wondering, how can I get around this assignment clause? Because I need that in there. Well, and the crazy thing is I couldn't understand what he was saying. He was sounding real muffled, and he was barking about, what he didn't like about the contract, and then telling me what he had to say, but I couldn't understand him. So that actually came in handy towards the end of this call. I said, well, I wish I could understand what you're saying. You're kind of breaking up, but I got the basic idea. You want me to take out line 6, and you want less time before closing. I'll make those adjustments, and I'll call you back. So I went home and I had to look up the laws on assignment clauses, because what I know is that every contract is assignable unless it's stated in the contract that it's not assignable. So I'm thinking, well, I really don't need that clause in there. And I told you there was already things I didn't like. That was one of the things I didn't like. I didn't want that clause in there, because you never want to tell the people what you're doing, because that raises too many questions. You just want to get the contract and go do what you got to do. So this was really a blessing in disguise, because it has helped me to improve my standard contract now. Because after I looked up the Florida statute, and this is how it is around the nation in most places, if you don't specify whether the contract is assignable or not, it's called silent assignability. All right, which means that it's not specified that you can't assign the contract, so therefore it's permissible. All right, so I thought about it and I said, well, if I take this out, he'll be satisfied. It won't prevent me from assigning the contract legally. So why don't I just satisfy him, satisfy me at the same time? Because at the end of the day, I got to do this because I need this deal. This has to go through, and all he's saying is he wants those clauses taken out. And the rest of what he was saying, I really couldn't understand. So I'm going with that. And if it comes up down the road, I'll just let him know, hey, the only thing I understood was that you wanted those clauses out. I didn't understand anything else, which is true. I didn't. I know kind of where he's coming from, but it's business. So I took it out of the contract. It doesn't prevent me from signing the deal. And so he signed the next day. But I thought he was upset because he did sound upset on the phone the first time. And in this business, people will ghost you pretty quickly. Once they don't like what you're saying and what you're doing, they will ghost you. And so I called him, and I thought he had ghosted me, y'all. You know, when I didn't get an answer and it went to voicemail, my training kicked in. I'm supposed to double tap, is what I was taught. So I called him right back. I'm letting him know this is an emergency. If you're gonna shut me down, if you're gonna tank the deal, if the deal's off, whatever, I need to know now. I don't need to be running around here, worried about losing a deal. If I lost it, I lost it. So I'm gonna get this out of the way. So I'm gonna call him until he answers and tells me what he thinks. So I'm all nervous. I'm thinking it's over. I think I done lost the deal. So I call back. He answers. He's like, hey. He's happy. I said, hey, how's it going? I don't want to say his name, but he said, hey, everything's going good. I sent the contract over with all of the changes you asked for. Did you get it? He says, well, I'm not at the office right now. I'll go back by the office a little bit later, and I'll check it out. And if it's if all the adjustments are made, I'll go ahead and sign, and I'll get it back over to you. What? I am so freaking happy I called back because I was sure I had lost the deal. I was sure he was, and somehow I did leave out some of the things he said. This guy is, even though I couldn't understand what he was saying, the guy has been in the business 50 years. He knows everything about this business. He knows way more about this business than I do. So anything I throw at him, he recognized exactly what it was from the beginning. So he's not trying to deal with a wholesaler. He's not trying to deal with somebody who doesn't actually have their own money to buy this property. But I have buyers that are ready for these lots. So I can technically say that's my financing. That's who's financing me. So I'm going into this, he has his position, I got mine. And I'm not backing down. I got money to pay for this. It doesn't have to be my money. When you go to borrow money from a bank, it's not your money, but you go in there and you sign that check over to them, to whatever entity you're buying from, and that's your property. So I'm acting like I got the money because you gotta fake it till you make it. So I'm surprised to hear that he's happy. He's in a good mood. He's not mad. It wasn't a deal breaker like I thought. He's ready to sign. So fast forward, he calls me back a little bit later, and it turns out that he never got the email. Probably just got lost in some of his other stuff. So I sent the email again. I told him it should be in your inbox, check it. He texted me back, let me know he got it. And then he calls me back about an hour later and says, hey man, I signed it. The key. Remember, I didn't hear what all he said on that phone call, but he heard everything I was saying. He said, I went ahead and signed it, and you can go ahead and do whatever you said you were gonna do with it. Maybe he's okay with me doing what I gotta do. Maybe. I don't know. But I called one of my contractor buddies and he says, go ahead and do the contract, man. Don't worry about it. At the end of the day, he's gonna be happy with his money. You're gonna make your money. So I went ahead and decided to send him the contracts. He signs the contracts. Now, this is the part that bugs me. The work is just getting started now. I'm so excited to get my second deal under contract, but now I gotta go find buyers. I think I got buyers. The guy that's buying my other lots, I'm sure he would be interested in these lots, but I'm worried now about calling him because this other deal hadn't closed. I don't know if I should feel confident about calling him or whether I should feel a little nervous. I don't know, but it's Saturday. I've had these properties under contract now for a day and a half. I gotta make that call. So y'all stay tuned. I'm gonna let you know how this works out. I gotta go find some buyers for these 6 lots because I need this 20,000. If you haven't already, give me a like, man, and subscribe to the channel. I'm vlogging about this real estate business every day. I'm sure you're gonna learn something, and hopefully you enjoy and get entertainment out of this because, man, This roller coaster ride is stressing me the hell out. I need my money. Y'all pray for me, man.